Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I start by expressing shock and anger at the death of George Floyd? This has shone a light on racism and hatred experienced by many in the US and beyond. I'm surprised the Prime Minister hasn't said anything about this yet, but I do hope that next time he speaks to President Trump, he will convey to him the UK's abhorrence about his response to the events. Mr. Speaker, the Telegraph this morning is reporting that the Prime Minister has decided to take direct control of the government's response to the virus. So an obvious question for the Prime Minister: who's been in direct control up till now?
Well, Mr. Speaker, let me begin by associating myself absolutely with what the Right Honourable Gentleman had to say about the death of George Floyd. And I think what happened in the United States was appalling. It was inexcusable. We all saw it on our screens. And I perfectly understand people's right to protest what took place, though obviously I also believe that protests should take place in a lawful and reasonable way. On his more polemical point, let me just say that this government is, I take full responsibility for everything this government has been doing in tackling coronavirus, and I'm very proud of our record. And if you look at what we have achieved so far, it is very considerable. We have protected the NHS. We have driven down the death rate. We are now seeing far fewer hospital admissions, and I believe that the public understand that with good British common sense we will continue to defeat this virus and take this country forward. And what I think the country would like to hear from him is more signs of cooperation in that endeavour.
Watching events unfold across America in recent days, and the actions and rhetoric from the American president have been distressing and deeply worrying. So can I ask the Prime Minister, what representations has he made to his ally Donald Trump? And at the very least, Prime Minister, say it now: Black Lives Matter.
Prime Minister. Well, Mr. Speaker, of course Black Lives Matter, and I totally understand the anger, the grief that is felt not just in America but around the world and in our country as well. I totally understand that, and I get that, and I also support, as I've said, the right to protest. The only point I would make to the House is that protests should be carried out lawfully, and in this country protests should be carried out in accordance with our rules on social distancing.
Easing restrictions involves very difficult judgment calls. So this is the week of all weeks where public trust and confidence in the government needed to be at its highest. But as the director of the Reuters Institute, which commissioned a YouGov poll this weekend, said, I have never, in 10 years of research, seen a drop in trust like we've seen for the UK government. How worried is the Prime Minister about this loss of trust?
Prime Minister. I'm surprised he should take that tone, Mr. Speaker, since I took the trouble to ring him up, and we had a long conversation in which I briefed the Right Honourable Gentleman about all the steps that we were taking. He didn't offer any dissent at that stage, I may say, Mr. Speaker. He thoroughly endorsed our approach, and I believe that he should continue to endorse it today. I think that he's on better ground and firmer ground when he stands with the overwhelming majority of the British people who understand the very, very difficult circumstances that we are in, and who want clarity across the political spectrum, but who believe that we can move forward provided we continue to observe the basic rules on social distancing, on washing our hands, and on making sure that when we have symptoms, we take a test and we isolate. And I think everybody understands that. That's why the incidence of this disease is coming down. And I think his attempts to distract the public from that have not been successful, because they continue to pay attention to our guidance.